Before this video even starts, let me say this. Don't you leave a comment about an August, an Alcina, a March, April, or May. I don't want to hear nothing about no entanglement, no cheating, or how valuable you think this sister is or worthy she is of protection. Okay? Please don't leave a comment without watching the full video. Don't tell me what you think I should have said if I already said it. Don't tell me what you think anybody should have done if you are not fully informed. Please watch the full video before you leave a comment. If you do not, you will be deleted and blocked. Deleted and blocked. Don't write the comment. Ain't nobody gonna see it because you're gonna be deleted and blocked. Much love. Enjoy the video. Peace and light, family. I hope that you are well. This is a very random and going to be a very quick video. You know it's random because I'm on here looking like whatever. Okay? So you know it's random. But I really wanted to come on here real quick and touch on a few points about the whole Jada and Will Oscar Slapgate fiasco, right? Because I think there are quite a few learning lessons and moments for introspection that we can all take away from this, right? So first off, I just want to say that this is going to be a real raw, uncut, unedited video, okay? I ain't editing nothing. I'm just recording this and posting this, okay? But I want to start off by saying, just like everybody else, you know what I'm saying, I was watching the clips of the Oscars. So not clips, but I was watching the Oscars live, but I was like in and out. And then when Chris Rock got up there, he like made the G.I. Jane joke. And then I saw like them trying to cut, like I was confused of what was going on. So honestly, I walked away from the TV like, what is that? I really thought it was a skit initially. And then of course, through social media, quickly realized that this is a real thing. So I'm speaking about once I realized that this was a real incident, how did I feel? And what do I feel like we can take away from this? That's my intentions with this video. Let's get into it. So once I realized it was real, my initial reaction was the trauma involved. I immediately started thinking about everyone's trauma that's involved. My dog over here playing. I immediately started thinking about everyone's trauma involved. And the first person's trauma I thought about was Chris Rock. Like to see him get slapped and not do anything in response, like not fight back. Okay, I'll be real with y'all. Like I come from a family, a culture, an area where we ain't doing that. Like somebody put their hands on you, you swing anytime, any place, it's whatever. You know what I'm saying? So I'm giving you a bit of my own personal history. So when I saw him not swing back, I was like, damn. I immediately started thinking about Chris Rock's trauma. I'm a Chris Rock fan. So I started thinking back to like times he's spoken on him, you know, being bullied in school and how he was the nerd. And we have to remember that everybody hates Chris. It's really about his real life. You know what I'm saying? So I just started thinking back to all of that. Like, damn, this man just got slapped. Like I felt like he was being bullied again. Like it was like the big bully hitting him again and him not responding, not doing anything about it. Like I just felt bad for him in that moment. This is an honest reaction. And then Will, keep my wife's name out your effing mouth. I was like, oh, he ain't playing. Like, he's serious. And I started thinking about Will's trauma, like looking at his face and his reaction. Him walking back to his seat, buttoning up the jacket, like looking to the side, you know, seeing the keep my wife's name out your effing mouth and how adamant he was about that. But you could still see a bit of insecurity in him. And I immediately thought about, I read his book and him talking about how he felt like a coward for not protecting his mother. And you know how I was really into like the whole King Richard thing. So I watched several interviews where he talked about how he admired how Richard protected his family. My dog is over here playing. How Richard protected his family. So I kind of was very well aware that this is his inner child, feeling like, okay, I'm not like a coward anymore. I gotta protect. And him feeling like he's beating on his chest, protecting his wife and proving a point. The trauma coming into play. So immediately, two people who have dealt with trauma. And I'm taking accountability for this. Unfortunately, Jada was my last consideration. She was my last consideration. But I did consider her in the end. And I thought about how she must have felt. Like, because seeing just like everyone else, we all saw that Will initially kind of brushed the joke off. He was laughing, but then the camera zooms in on Jada's face. The eye roll, the look of discomfort triggered him. He reacted. Boom. I think about Jada like, okay, you know, she's dealing with alopecia as a black woman with hair. And black folks with hair in general, we all know Chris Rock himself did a whole documentary on the impact of hair in the black community. We all know what that is. Jada Pinkett herself has documented her journey with alopecia not too long ago. She just posted a video about the line across her head and her dealing with alopecia. And for people like, oh, well, I didn't know Jada had alopecia. I didn't know. Black Hollywood is small. These folks is connected. You may not be a Jada Pinkett fan. You may not be aware. I personally follow Jada on Instagram, so I'm aware of her alopecia journey. I also dabble in Red Table Talk. I'm aware of her alopecia journey. So I know. But even if you aren't a Jada fan, to try to give Chris the pass of, oh, it was just a joke. He did a documentary about why black hair is not a joke. So, boom. That excuse is out the window. Black hair should not have been a joke. And him, of all people, knows that. He did a documentary on black hair not being a joke. So I don't want to hear it was just a joke. They should have took the joke. Some people were saying like, oh, well, he said G.I. Jane. That's a compliment. We all know the G.I. Jane bald head woman trope. Let's not pretend to be aloof here or oblivious here. Like, let's not pretend that his joke was well-intentioned. Stop. You know what I'm saying? Also, the whole it was just a joke. Clearly, if you watch the footage again, the entire audience, oh no, it was gasp. Chris Rock, immediately knew the joke didn't go over well. So let's not even debate of whether or not she should have just taken the joke or it was just a joke. He's a comedian. Get over it. Chris Rock himself knows that black hair is not a joke. Before the joke even left his lips, he should have known that talking about a black woman's hair, period, especially coming from a man, is not okay. It's not acceptable. It should never be done in a way of a joke. So let's not try to give that pass. Let's really discuss what the issue is. And the issue is, was Will Smith wrong for how he handled the situation? Introspection number 1, trauma and how we respond to trauma. A lot of folks is like, well, Will Smith shouldn't have slapped him. Will Smith was wrong. They should have just took the joke. Chris Rock is a comedian. I saw 2 people who are dealing with trauma. Jada Pinkett, Will Smith, a wife, and a husband. I saw another person who is a comedian, but also has his own trauma, and the way he deals with his trauma, admittedly from his own mouth, the way he coped with his trauma of being bullied was becoming the class clown, becoming the comedian, is jokes. So he's using his coping mechanism of joking and addressing this sister, right? Now, you have Jada, wife, Will, husband. Jada is struggling. She has alopecia, whatever. Will, yes, he tried to laugh. He tried to dust it off. But when he looked over and saw his wife triggered, his response was to protect. Now, some people are like, well, that's not necessarily protecting. We're not speaking about how he protected. His response to her being triggered was to protect. Some people feel like, well, no, he did that out of ego. That was his ego that went up there. Listen, protection for a man oftentimes comes from ego. Okay, and what is ego to you? Before we throw ego out there, what is ego to you? And is ego always a negative thing? It is not. Ego is not always a negative thing. Go back and watch my Sacred Masculine, Divine Feminine video, right? When we speak about the Sacred Masculine, when we speak about the Sacred Masculine, we're speaking about the heart chakra, being aware of who you love. We're speaking about the root chakra, being grounded and being logical. Now, We talked about that logic, understanding when you have a balance of that sacred masculine, that divine feminine, you also have that sacral chakra, which is your emotion body. You have to be, your solar plexus, which is that emotion body. You have to be mindful of balancing that emotion with that logic. Did Will, in the moment, respond with balancing emotion and logic? Maybe not. Maybe he reacted out of emotion. Maybe his response was an emotion-full response as opposed to a logical response. I can agree with that. I see where that's coming from. But again, of course he's emotional. You have a person who is responding from his own place of trauma. So he sees his wife who has gone through trauma because of her hair. Her trauma is triggered. He feels the need to protect. His trauma is triggered, and he's responding from a place of trauma. It's a whole lot of trauma going on. Do we see where I'm going? What I really took away from this moment was the importance of dealing with your shit. We have to truly deal with our trauma. Do I feel like Will was wrong for standing up for his wife and protecting his wife? If you see my Instagram, if you see my TikTok, absolutely not. I feel like he did the right thing for handling the situation. Chris Rock needed to be addressed in the moment. I don't feel like, oh, he should have waited to backstage. He should have. I'm not cut from that cloth. I'm cut from the cloth of you disrespect publicly, you get dealt with publicly. That's just me. You disrespect in private, you get dealt with privately. You disrespect publicly, apologize publicly. You disrespect privately, apologize privately. Keep that same energy. Don't disrespect somebody in public and expect them to pull you to the side or do something in private and you think you could tuck your tail and hide your hand and say, I'm sorry in private. No, he was right for handling it in that moment. Now, there's multiple ways he could have handled it. I personally would have loved, but again, we're all speaking, all of us are speaking from people who are not in the moment. We do not have their trauma. We do not have their emotions. We do not know what's going on and what conversations Will and Jada are having behind closed doors. We don't know the true history of between Will, Jada, and Chris Rock. All we do know is that Chris Rock crossed that picket line back in 2016 when Jada called for that boycott of Oscars So White. A lot of people forgot Jada started Oscars So White. Jada called for that boycott. He crossed the picket line after he himself and she discussed how she personally called him and asked him to withdraw from hosting, and he said no. And he went up there, and not only did he cross the picket line, but he made her the butt of the joke multiple times and questioned her worthiness of being at the Oscars. She wasn't even invited. So we don't even know the true details of have they even hashed out their history, but regardless of whether they did or not, her hair should not have been the butt of his joke. She, as a Black woman, front row in a room full of multiple people that those jokes could have been about, she should not have been the butt of his joke. And he knows that. He knows that. Before the joke even left his lips, he tried to get the caveat of, you know, I love y'all. You know, I love y'all, but... y'all know I can't, but that's like somebody saying no shade, but, and then shading you. Oh, I don't mean no disrespect, but, and then disrespect you. It's the same concept. So he knows where they stand. You know what I'm saying? But regardless, let's go with what we know for sure. What we know for sure is those are two people who are dealing with a trauma. This woman has an illness. He saw his wife triggered. He responded. I would have loved if he would have said, hey, got up on stage, took the mic. Chris, come on now. My wife is a Black woman. She's losing her hair. You know, he could have even mentioned, you know, Chadwick Boseman. We just lost our brother. People was making fun of him because of his appearance. And you going to sit here and make fun of my wife? I feel like that's disrespectful. My wife is owed an apology. That would have been a beautiful way to handle it. There's multiple ways. We could throw out all these scenarios of what could have been done and what should have been done that didn't include violence, right? Violence, of course, should have been the last resort, but that's what he resorted to. And let's not pretend like Will Smith has not been open about his past with violence. He's spoken several times in several interviews and in his book how, they used to be fighting. Him, Charlie Mack, Jazzy Jeff used to be fighting. Go back and look at Jazzy Jeff's most recent Breakfast Club interview. In the interview, he talks about how they used to be fighting. Go look at Charlie Mack interviews, Rap Radar, all that. They used to be fighting. Will Smith, Rap Radar interview. They used to be fighting. That's what Will Smith always has been open about. Like, hey, we handled our situations with violence. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's how we handled our situations. Now, is he right for handling this moment in violence? We would have hoped that he would have grown beyond that. But this is the second lesson. So the first lesson was understanding trauma and how trauma impacts our decision making, how trauma informs our perception, how we receive and how we give. Okay? Now, the second lesson, please, please, please understand that we are all, as Will Smith said himself, a work in progress. People see Will as like this healed, changed person. Oh, he's always giving out this great advice. Will has been open about being on a growth journey. If you read his book, his whole book is about how he's on a growth journey. This brother is a work in progress. We are all work in progress. This was my thing. I said, listen, if you've been a person who ain't been with violence, if you've been a person who've never dealt with anger issues, this is not your discussion. You ain't never been like that. You ain't never been about that. You ain't never did nothing. You know what I'm saying? You ain't no fighter. You don't know what it's like to have to heal through anger issues. You don't know what it's like to be a person who has to heal through and work through learning how to respond to disrespect or humiliation with something other than violence. That is a journey. That is a journey. So what you can do is you can think about something that you had to heal from, something that you had to change from, and something that you're still working on, and realize that you too in your own areas are a work in progress. So what I'm saying is, let's give each other empathy. Lesson 2 is about empathy. Understand that we are all works in progress. Your work may not look like Will's work. Your work may not look like Chris' work. Your work may not look like Jada work. Your work may not look like my work, but you got some work. You got some work. Please don't pretend that you don't have no work. If you think you don't have no work, then I'm telling you as a whole, you are the problem. You are the problem. Okay, please understand that. So lesson 2, empathy. Understand that we are all works in progress. You may not necessarily agree with how Will handled the situation, but do you see the trauma? Do you see and understand where he was coming from? Do you see and understand where Jada was coming from and why she may have been hurt and why she may have been triggered? Let's have some empathy. Work in progress. Now, lesson 3. Let's talk about the Protect Black Women movement. What I found most baffling about this moment is how, we holler, protect black women, protect black women. We got merchandise, purses, t-shirts, protect black women, protect black women. And then we see a black woman be humiliated on TV, And this, again, the question is not whether or not you yourself would have took it as humiliation. That's not the question, because you are not in Jada's shoes. You are not there. You may not have the alopecia. The joke was not on you. So you do not have the right to decide whether or not she should have felt disrespected, whether or not she should have felt hurt, whether or not she should have felt humiliated. That was another thing that was like, that's not your place. People like, well, he ain't disrespect her. You can't tell that girl what to feel disrespect, or that woman what to feel disrespected by and not. You can't tell them that. That's like some people who argue about catcalling. You shouldn't feel disrespected by a man telling you to smile. That's crazy. You shouldn't feel disrespected by a man telling you look good when you walking down the street. That's crazy. You cannot tell somebody else what to make them what they should feel respected and not respected by. You cannot say that. So let's put yourself in Jada's shoes and say you did feel disrespected. You were humiliated. Would you have not wanted to be protected in that moment? Even in my own group chat, some of my sister queens was like, I don't agree with this. I don't feel like this was right. Will was wrong. I told them, I said, okay, let's not be hypothetical. Let's not say that you Jada. I want you to think back to your real life, and I'm challenging you to do this as well. Think back to your real life right now, presently. And I want you to go back to a moment, especially if you are a woman, if you identify as a woman, I want you to go back to a moment right now and ask yourself, in a moment that I felt disrespected by a man, in a moment that I was humiliated by a man, any moment in your life, whether if it was in your childhood and a boy disrespected you, or as an adult and a man disrespected you, I don't care what man it was or whatever, think back to the time that you felt the most disrespected, the most hurt, the most humiliated by a man. Don't you wish there was another man there to protect you in that moment? Don't you wish that there was another man there to stand up for you in that moment? Don't you wish there was another man there to address that man on your behalf? Don't you wish you were protected? Don't you wish? Let's not, well, Jada shouldn't have felt. You can't tell that woman how to feel. But think back to the moment where you have felt that way. Think back to that moment. Don't you wish you had somebody there to hold you down? And if you did have somebody there to hold you down, ain't you grateful? Aren't you grateful for him? If you ever had a brother, a cousin, a daddy, an uncle, a boyfriend, a husband, anybody stand up for you against another man, aren't you grateful? If you are a man, think about a time where a woman may have tried you. I could personally think back to a time where a girl, my brother was in school, a girl spit in my brother's face. I could go back to another time where a female disrespected my brother. Think back to a time as a man where a woman violated you, a woman disrespected you. Don't you wish you had a woman on your side that would have held you up, that would have addressed that sister on your behalf? Don't you wish as a man that you was protected by another woman? My thing is, we need to protect each other. We could holler all day, protect black men, protect black women. But in moments that they need to be protected, we like, oh no, he shouldn't have did it then. He shouldn't have did it like that. He shouldn't have did that. Even if you didn't agree with the slap, can we agree that that sister deserves to be protected? Can we agree that in the face of disrespect, in the face of humiliation, that sister deserved to be protected? Even if you felt like, well, I wouldn't have felt disrespected from that. You can't tell her how to feel. This is how she felt. We could tell on her face she was hurt. Many attendees there said that the camera immediately zoomed in on her face and you could see the hurt on her face. You could see the disappointment on her face. Think back to a moment where you have felt that. I don't care if it was when you was a child in school being bullied by someone of the opposite sex or gender. I don't care if it was as an adult and you had somebody disrespect you on your job or wherever, walking down the street, somebody slapped you on your butt. Whatever it was, a time that you may have been disrespected, somebody said something crazy to you, addressed you crazy, yada, yada, yada. A time you felt disrespected and humiliated. Don't you wish that somebody was there to protect you and address that person, especially as a woman being disrespected by a man, where we cannot necessarily defend ourselves, some of us, okay, because I done had a few rumbles in my jungle, okay, with a couple guys, okay, but I'm not a woman who sit up here like, well, I could beat men up. I've come out on top, you know. But I don't feel like I could beat every man. I don't want to fight no man, period. That's just me. I enjoy being protected by kings. I'm very grateful that I have a tribe of kings who ride for me. You know what I'm saying? It's so crazy because I was having a discussion with some of my friends and they was like, if a man hit you, what would you do? And they was like, I'll throw some hot grits and I'll wait till he sleep and I'll pour battery acid. And they coming up with all these crazy scenarios. I was like, I'm calling my brother. I'm calling my uncle. I'm calling such and such. Okay, my homeboy. I'm picking up the phone. I got some kings that's gonna check him. I got some kings that's gonna address him by any means necessary. Let's be clear. If you want to do verbal hands or higher, okay? Let's be clear. I got some kings behind me. I don't have to throw hands with no man, thank God. You know, to be a well-protected black woman is a beautiful thing. It's a beautiful thing. So my point with this lesson is, if we gonna say protect black women, let's stand on it. When you see a black woman in distress, when you see a black woman disrespected, when you see a black woman humiliated, protect her. Now, how you protect her is your business. You may verbally address it. People are like, well, Will could have just said something. True, he could have. He could have. But again, you ain't Will. So you don't know what Will going through. You don't know what Will thinking. He did not have to necessarily slap him. He could have done other things. So regardless of how you would have handled it, can we agree that it needed to be handled? Can we agree that that sister needed to be protected? Can we agree on that? You know what I'm saying? So that for me is just my personal opinion on the situation. Trauma. Understand when you are dealing with folks, everybody got some type of trauma that they dealing with. My mom used to always say, everybody got a story to tell. Everybody done been through something. The richest man and the poorest man, the highest man and the lowest man, the youngest man and the oldest man. Everybody done been through something. Everybody got some trauma, something that they working on, something that they've been through. Everybody got it. Understand that when we are moving throughout this world, you are moving throughout this world with people who are moving through and working through their trauma. Some folks are a little further than others, but at the end of the day, we are all on a journey, which brings us to 2, having empathy. Have empathy. Take yourself out of certain situations and try to put yourself in other people's shoes. Understand that folks is going through things. You know what I'm saying? Stop looking at things from a selfish perspective. I would. You ain't them. But imagine if you were them. You can't tell that sister how to feel, but imagine if you did feel what she felt. Let's have some empathy for each other. And if we gonna holler protect black women, number 3, if we gonna holler protect black women, let's stand on it. Let's stand on it. By any means necessary, let's stand on it. Don't holler protect black women, but then tell that black man that he wrong for protecting his wife or for standing for his wife. You could tell him how he did it was wrong. And he apologized for that afterward. Because of course, hindsight is 20/20. You could tell him how he did it was wrong, but what he did was the right thing. He stood for his wife as he should. As he should. And pray that when the time comes and you need protecting, somebody stand for you. Don't forget, karma is real. The energy you put out is the energy you get back. And I'm just watching folks. This whole thing, I'm just watching folks. The women who like, she should have stood up for herself. If she a real independent woman, she could have stood for herself. Okay, Miss Independent Woman, let me see you be disrespected by a man. I want to watch you stand and not be tired and keep doing it and keep doing it. Miss Strong Independent Woman. You know what I'm saying? And it just because you got some kings or a king who can protect you don't make you any less independent. Okay, it don't make you it don't make you weak. It don't make you any less strong. It's actually a powerful thing to be protected and to be honored by people who love you. Let's be clear on that. Okay, let's be clear on that. So protect black women, protect black folks. Let's protect each other. Of course, in hindsight, we all have these scenarios of what we could have done and should have done and all of these things that could have happened. And people was like, well, Jada should have stopped him and all of that. Y'all, when you look at them videos, that all happened in less than a minute. You know what I'm saying? From the time the joke finished to Will walking up and slapping and coming back to his seat, it was all a minute, okay, or less. We all have these, she could have did it, he could have did it, this one and that one. We all got these scenarios. But think about your most emotional moment. I'm pretty sure you have all shoulda, coulda, wouldas. I'm pretty sure you do. Okay? But put yourself in that moment. Have some empathy and understand where all these folks is coming from. Shout out to Chris Rock for keeping his decorum. Okay. And you know, I wish that brother love, because I'm sure he was triggered, because again, this is the brother who's been open about being bullied, right? So I'm sure he was triggered, and I do feel bad for him, and I pray his healing and his wellness through this journey, because I know it's difficult. Send a lot of love and healing energy to Will and his family, his wife, to Jada, as they work through this moment. My only thing is, I just wish we would have been able to hear what his speech would have been if none of this happened. The speech was great, but I'm pretty sure the speech that he had prepared, because he's been preparing his entire career for this moment. So I'm sure the speech he had prepared, if none of this would have happened, was even better. You know what I'm saying? So I do wish we got a chance to hear that. But that Denzel gem that he dropped of when you are at your highest moment, the devil will come for you. That was a great one. Be careful. I like that. You know what I'm saying? But I'm praying them a lot of healing energy for everyone that's involved. Again, all of us as spectators, let's have some empathy. Let's educate ourselves and be well informed on the people that we're speaking about. Read Will's book. Go watch the interviews of Will and Chris and Jada and listen to their journeys and have a well-informed opinion about the people that we're judging before we judge them. You know what I'm saying? Like let's try to do that a little bit. You know what I'm saying? And yeah, just send a lot of love, a lot of healing energy out there for everybody that's involved. Okay, much love, y'all. Just sharing my full 2 cents about the situation, and I'll see y'all soon. Peace.